So how did the no-dig garden turn out? I will never put in a garden any other way. See, no-dig is really the right way to build soil structure, protect those microorganisms and mycorrhizae fungi, which make it possible for things to grow. But for the gardener, it is almost no maintenance. The weeding was almost non-existent and I could walk on it. So I think that having the compost as the main ingredient really is the difference. The other thing I noticed about the garden is that compared to my other beds, it heated up much faster. So I do use a soil temperature gauge, and that was successful in being able to start some of the seedlings I had started earlier in the season in that bed versus other beds, which are typical garden soil. So what are you going to need to get started? Well, here's a checklist. One, you need non-slick cardboard boxes. So no coating on the box. You want to remove all tape, all stickers, all staples, and you want to make sure that they overlap. Leave yourself enough room so that you can create a path around the bed, especially if you're installing it on grass. The beauty of this bed is you don't have to pull that grass up before you get this one started. So if you're looking to convert your lawn, this is the way to go. And we'll be converting more lawn here in the Thoughtful Garden this season. And I'll be using this technique once again to get things started. The other thing that I really loved about it is the haul was incredible. Now, you know I use techniques to encourage the pollinators to come into my garden. But what I found was that I had so many tomatoes, probably off 2 cherry tomato plants, well over 1,000 cherry tomatoes last season. It was incredible and they were delicious. So what will I do in 2022 to continue the no-dig bed? I will be ordering more mushroom compost. Mushroom compost, when I spread it in other parts of the garden, also kept those beds weed free. Now, what I will say I did learn is that it was not great for starting seeds because it's been heated. It is not a great medium for seed starting. However, it is a brilliant top dressing and it worked awesome for my transplants. They did just fine, but I just found that seeds didn't like starting in it. So I did mix some of my own compost that I have here on the property and the seeds got going with no problem. So if you're doing transplants, mushroom compost is the way to go. If you're doing seeds, you need real compost. Now, one word of caution about compost. Know your source. Now, in my case, my compost comes right off my property. I know where it's sourced, but many people order compost from farms. And if your animals that you are sourcing your compost from have been exposed to chemicals, it may kill your seedlings. So what you should do the first time you use the compost, before you put your hard grown seedlings in that compost, you may want to soak some of the compost in water overnight and water some of your seedlings with it. If they die, your compost is compromised. Do not put it in your garden. That is a hard lesson. I have heard other gardeners say they've learned doing this technique, which is why I really like the mushroom compost, because it's been heated to a very high temperature. It is completely seedless and it made my gardens no maintenance. I'm actually going to be using this in other parts of the garden this year instead of the traditional wood mulch that I typically put down, in combination with pine straw. And that way, I think I'll have a pretty seedless experience in my other beds where in the past, I have spent a lot of time trying to weed them. So do I recommend no-dig beds? I 100% recommend no-dig gardening beds. And please let me know if you've tried it in your own garden in the comments below. Garden thoughtfully and take care.